And I'm live. Welcome to another back-to-back episode of Mondays with Miko. And I have another guest in the green room, y'all, that I'm going to be queuing up soon. If you're watching on replay, I thank you so much for watching on replay. And throughout these various Monday with Miko primary edition shows that I'm doing today, you're getting an opportunity to meet folk virtually. And everybody that you're meeting today are good friends of mine. And I'm calling them good friends because I took the time to find out more about them. Except for that last one, that was my son. That was my son. So I know a whole lot about Darius Pickett. But this is now the next candidate that's up. So I'm still trying to come off the mama proud. Okay. But anyway, so I just want to start off by saying that what you will hear today on this show may or may not be the express values of Miko Pickett. They're the express values of the candidate that will be coming before you. They are not they're not associated in any way, shape, or form with me as mayor of the city of Mullins or the city of Mullins. So I just wanted to make that disclaimer so that you know I do this Mondays with Miko platform so that the community at large can hear from I really think that it is time out for folks to get elected just because of a popularity contest. We got work to do. We got work to do in our county, across our state, and in our nation. And to do that work, we need to make sure that we are vetting the right people. And you know what? I'm going to tell you this Mondays with Miko is not blue or red. I'm a Democrat. I am a Democrat. True and true. But we got to elect the right people. We gotta elect the right people. We gotta elect people that are gonna do the work, that are gonna represent us the way we want and need to be represented. We see how important the vote is. And it seems the new thing is people get elected to office and then they take their vote. No, you represent the people. So I'm so happy to provide this platform. I ask that you please like and share it and comment because it's a conversation. And for those of you that were on the last discussion, if I did not get to your comments, there's some kind of glitch in the system where I was not able to see some of the comments that were coming from one of the streaming sites. So I do apologize for that. I will say the best place to get your comments on air live is going to be if you from the Mayor Miko Pickett page. I was able to see all of their comments as well as the YouTube pages. It's like 3 YouTube pages that I share this platform on. So again, I apologize if I did not get to your question or comment in the last session. It is my intention to get to everybody's question and comments for the candidate, and also let's have a conversation. So without further ado, I am going to bring to the stage my friend, Mr. Jason Belton, candidate for Secretary of State. Hello, Jason. Uh-oh, I got you on mute. Hold on.
Okay.
All right, you're unmuted. You're unmuted.
I am?
Hello,
Okay,
Jason.
awesome. Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. I've been running around with the kids all day. Because before we can manage any office, we have to be able to manage our household. So,
That
I took
part.
some time to deal with them today.
Gotta be able to mention. Well, welcome to Mondays with Miko. This is your
Thank
first
you.
time on with me, isn't it?
It is on your show.
Okay, and we go. Thank you. And look, we go back.
That's right.
The show started in 2019, and that's when I met you. I met you in
That's right.
2019. But
That's
enough of
right.
that. Just give us, a minute or two about
Okay.
Jason Belton. Now, I call you Jay,
You're right.
so I may slip up and say Jay a time or two. But can you
Right.
tell the folks about Jason Belton, a little bit about yourself in 2 or 3 minutes?
Sure. First of all, I'm a husband and I'm a family man first. I'm a father of six. Um, I had some challenging upbringings that I had to overcome, and thank God that I did. Um, One thing is, I love my opera music and I love my gospel music. Opera kind of calms me down. My gospel get me in the right spirit that I need to be in. I'm also known as like the fixer. Since I was about 15 years old, I've loved being a problem solver. And most people, even in my professional movement, they call on me to fix problems. And that's essentially what brought me into the political world. That's what helped me co-founded my organization, Vision Walkers, that works very diligently in the marginalized and disenfranchised communities. Yes, ma'am. I think I'm at your 2 minute part, but
No, I
just a
love
little
it.
bit
I
about
love.
me.
Listen, I'm engaged because I'm learning some stuff about you. I had no idea that you loved opera.
I do. I do.
Like, because
Um,
you can sing. You can. I've heard you sing gospel.
I do
Do you
sing a
sing
little bit.
opera? You sing opera?
I don't sing it.
Oh, okay, okay. But you like
I've
that?
tried. It don't come out as well as when I sing the gospel, but I do love hearing it.
Oh, wow. That's exciting. That's exciting. Well, hey, we need to learn. I think maybe not other folks, but I know Miko
Right.
Pickett. I need to
Right.
learn about Secretary of State, and
That's great.
I'm definitely. I was excited to learn more personally about Secretary of State once you said that
Right.
you was running for it,
Right.
and I didn't automatically go with you because you're my friend. I
That's
had to do
correct.
some background and
That's
digging
correct.
myself, you know.
That's correct.
And I will say that that's why I want to share this platform because I want the people to get to know you, Jason Belton.
Indeed.
Now, talk to us about. Now, I'm going to say the Cliff Notes version
Okay.
of Secretary of State, please.
Okay. So, Secretary of State, number one, holds the seal. You may hear me say a lot as I'm running around, the keeper of the seal. That seal is what gives the authority to let people know once people are elected, um, any type of right documents that are out. That is the official seal, and the Secretary of State is the custodian of that seal. Also, the Secretary of State, he keeps the records. A lot of your ratified acts that have been passed or moved out in the legislative body, he's the one that makes sure that that gets the official stamp and archive that. We actually have an archive building here in South Carolina
Hmm.
that is directly under management of the Secretary of State. I spoke about the commissions of the Secretary of State. You are not officially elected official as it comes to the legislative body or as it comes to who the government appoints until you get that seal from the Secretary of State. Also, the Secretary of State expresses who's who in business in as it comes to LLCs, LPs, as well as nonprofits and charities. Lastly, I'll say our notaries. That goes through the Secretary of State's office as well. And I like to call him the bona fide notary of the state, as you need to look at him. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so
That's
that's a
those are some
lot.
connections.
That's a lot.
It is.
I imagine it's probably various departments because I know I personally deal with the Secretary of State on my businesses.
That's correct.
And so you in your intro, you say people know you as a problem solver.
That's correct.
Do you think that are you running for Secretary of State because you see problems that need to be solved, or is that just one
Definitely.
of your key skill sets?
It is. I mean, you're going to learn if you don't know me. I know you know Mayor Pickett. I am a huge advocate as it comes to the marginalized communities, the disenfranchised communities. But I also am an advocate for businesses and nonprofits that have been marginalized or have definitely been negatively impacted by red tape. Now, when we talk about nonprofits and businesses that have been affected by the red tape, I would like to cut those. Those sometimes about delays with the permits. That's a lot about the agencies that need to be integrated with the Secretary of State office. So we're not just running all around on the computer and in person with the IRS. Then we're trying to run back to Columbia to deal with the Secretary of State. These are all different red tapes that discourages our different nonprofits and local businesses across the state where they give up so easily and can't thrive. So I was a person that they would call when they were out of resources. They wasn't getting proper communication as it came from the Secretary of State after they paid their money. There's all these different issues have really marginalized our local businesses and nonprofits who have been the backbone of this state. While on the other side of things, we've allowed corporate nonprofits and these big businesses to be able to thrive in our state while we marginalize the actual backbones of the state.
Sorry. Yeah,
No, it's
I
okay.
can I can
Yes,
imagine that, right? Because I mean, if you have more resources as a big company, then you're able to kind of know how to work through that red tape. But
that's
I mean,
correct.
is it a true statement that small businesses do represent the lion's share of the tax revenue in our state?
It does. It does. And we
Mm.
need to make sure that that's reflected even when it comes to these tax incentives. You may not know, but even some of our foreigners that come in and start businesses right here in our state, they're given up to 7 years before they even have to pay taxes. Now, why don't we have these type of incentives for the local businesses and nonprofit that keeps our economy turning?
Wow, did not know that. Here's a question from Eliza. And she says, we need an advocate for our Black owned businesses because the red tape has discouraged so many people. And you kind of talked about that.
That
I
is
mean, you
correct.
didn't say,
That is
you
correct.
know, because if it's impacting Black owned business, it's also impacting all businesses,
That's
right?
right. That's right. And and they're right. I mean, right now, especially even as it comes to the Democratic Party, black people will be 60% of the electorate, right? So it's
Hmm.
only right that we make sure that we prioritize as well black businesses.
That's right.
You know, our economy thrives off the workforce of black employees, but yet it's 3 to 1 as it comes to unemployed black individuals throughout this state as it comes to other races. So I don't think that other races aren't important, but what I am saying is we need to take a side to prioritize those have been heavy in the workforce that are our black employees that are then up working for our black businesses. In order for our black businesses to thrive, we need to advocate for tax incentives and other work incentives when they hire out of our minority groups. You know,
Hmm.
these are incentives we need to offer, and these are incentives that need to be advocated from the Secretary of State's office.
Oh wow, that was definitely a powerful statement, and thank you so much, Eliza, for that question because you don't connect those dots, right? So folks
Right.
run for these statewide offices, and we never really know the true impact what they have to offer.
Yes, ma'am.
So
Can I say this, Mayor Piggott?
please,
The reason I put that out there is because sometimes I've realized, not only in our party, but across the state, we run from uncomfortable conversations. And we
mhm,
like to talk within bounds that are comfortable for us. But we have people that have been discouraged to even keep businesses flowing, just like, the dear sister had placed in the chat. This is a real issue in South Carolina. There's
right,
a lot of red tape that are discouraging our business owners that are paying their money to the Secretary of State, but then in return, they don't see the return on their investment. Anytime money is handed to anybody,
give me a
especially our
second.
Secretary of State office, we should be a hub of communication to make sure that they are thriving. And that's not only the black businesses, that's all of our businesses.
Right, exactly. And so, do you have any ideas? And I
Mm-hmm.
hope I'm not putting you on the spot with this question, but because
It's okay.
you're talking about tax incentives,
Right,
you're talking about incentives that happen to people that come to our state that aren't
right.
available to people that are in our state.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any ideas or any plans when you're elected to kind of bring these messages? I'm gonna give you an example,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm
Go
not
ahead.
even sure if it's Secretary of State, maybe somebody else.
Go ahead.
But there are tax breaks that are available for
Correct.
folks if you hire a certain number of people, you
That's
can get
incentives I'm talking about. Right.
yeah. But it's confusing to me, and I sit at the economic development tables,
Right.
right? I'm at those tables. I do look at the experts and say, okay, expert, can you talk to this business owner and explain to
Right.
them about this tax incentive? Do you have any idea that
Mm-hmm.
can bring those incentives and those messages down to the regular people in our 46 counties so that we can hear it
That's correct.
proactively?
Well, I do you better. As I travel around, and you might see it being placed on my website, one thing that is needed, we need satellite offices in every one of our
Oh,
counties in this state. So that's one thing that I've been pushing for. Now, let me go
what?
even
Wait, wait,
better.
wait. Let me back this
Yes,
up.
no
I
problem.
You said something that's really powerful.
Yes,
So, as far as I know, the Secretary of State is in Columbia,
that's
right?
correct.
And or online.
That's right.
So you're advocating for actually having Secretary of State offices not an hour and a half away, like local.
And I'm already advocating for this. So right now, already on our budget, we have state agencies like the DMV that is in every one of our counties.
That's right.
Now, to date, I've already talked to 11 directors in 11 different counties, and they were very intrigued about us offering a satellite office for the Secretary of State right within the DMV. I've actually had a few of them on a Zoom call that expressed they would be open to allowing to dedicate two of their windows to this actual satellite office. Now, of course, that autonomy is not just on the direct county directors. It'd be on the state DMV coordinator, but at the same time, they are open to it. It wouldn't ask for a huge budget because the DMV is already allocated in the budget so far as when it comes to rent. Of course, we have a small overhead, but these are things we can do that all we have to do is come out of that office that he's been in for 24 years and start making his rounds around the state just as much as we do when it's election time and start talking to these agencies about partnering to place satellite offices there. I'm already doing this work. And when I am Secretary of State, I will make sure that I advocate the same thing and make this happen.
Wow. Now I've been watching you and following you, but I didn't hear that. To me, that's news.
It
That
is.
right there, because um, we already said businesses are the backbone of our economy. Small businesses.
That's right.
It is not easy to get registered,
Right.
right? You got to know, you got to go get the EIN number you got to do all these steps. That
That's
would
correct.
be so amazing to promote businesses, and really that's an economic development idea right there alone. Okay,
Right.
let me bring it back. Oh my
And
goodness.
we
All
can
right.
make statutory changes to make that happen, even in the legislative body, to make that a mandate. That there are ways. I don't know if you know, but the Secretary of State sits on a quasi committee in the state house. Now, when we talked about the redistricting that's going on, Mayor Pickett, we all know the subcommittee started right out of the judicial committee
That's
from the
right.
Senate and the House, both chairs. And then we
Mhm.
have the Speaker of the House, and then we have the President of the Senate. You may not know, but our Secretary of State chairs a quasi committee with those four in the State House right now. He helps draw up the blueprint as it comes to legislation and help identify the research before they move this legislation forward. So we may try to act like that the Secretary of State is not political, and we try to express, and I'm hearing a lot of my opponents expressing that this position of Secretary of State is this boring position that just deals with business filings and nonprofits. But right now, we've seen what was birthed right out of the Judiciary Committee and being chaired by the Speaker of the House and the President of the Senate. I'm going to say that again. The
Say it.
Secretary of State chairs this quasi committee. So before it
Wow.
even hits any of these floors, he's the one talking to them and giving them direction. Are we still going to say he doesn't have any power over this type of things?
Okay. And let's go back because you just said 24 years like it was no big deal. So the incumbent has been in office for 24 years. And
That's
here's the
correct.
thing, that takes us back to what, 2002?
Yes. 2002, he was elected.
So from 2002,
Yes.
the way we did business, the type of businesses that were had in 2002, and this is 2026, is completely
That's
different.
correct.
Um, I've been in business here in South Carolina since 2019, and I haven't seen any innovation. So I really think that, hearing your ideas is a number one reason why we need to bring more people to the table.
That is correct.
at this point in time. Wow, that's kind of exciting. So your day, so it's been 24 years.
24 years.
That is when you're elected,
Yes.
the staff. I will say when I call to deal with the staff members at the Secretary of State, they are so good.
Right.
They answer the phone, they return every single phone call, they help you through the process.
Right.
So, they're doing a great job,
Right.
right? So what how do you come into that situation?
Okay.
Because they've been working for the same person for 24 years.
That
How
is
do you
correct.
make sure, because with the state we can't go back, right? We need to bring new ideas in. But how do
Right.
you address the staff? I'm just curious.
Right. Well, the number one of management, and that's why I try to make the distinction between what a lot of my opponents express. A lot of times when we talk about the Secretary of State, we talk about being this direct watchdog of the filings that are coming into the office. But the Secretary of State's job is to build policy around what's been going on in the office and how businesses are functioning in. Now, you just said it. The very important people that are in that office are the ones dealing with directly what's coming in and what's going out. So the first
Right,
thing I would do is build a rapport with that team that is there. The bureaucrats that are in that office are going to be essential to us moving forward. They understand how the office operates. You know, they're the ones who've been there for years with the current Secretary of State. So first, I would build a rapport. Obviously, there might be some people feeling some type of way that their boss had got replaced, and I'm okay with that. Again, I would try to build a relationship with them. See, can we kind of iron that out? And if that doesn't work, then I have to get them replaced. But what I will do, if I have to let somebody go, I'll make sure that we do a proper exit briefing to make sure that when these folks do leave, the office doesn't fall apart. But that
right,
is not my role of what I plan to do coming into the office is letting people go. But if we're going to make this personal about who was there, because people do get attached after somebody been there for 24 years.
it's a long
And I'm
time.
sure his office been the one really running his office. So I'm sure personal attachment has happened, but I know how to deal with that. I've managed multiple businesses. I own 3 businesses myself. All I've operated for over 10 years, and I still operate them to this day. So I know how to build a good camaraderie around those who are working for me, right? But I also believe we all have a position. I don't go into an office and just take over in a way when I'm saying, hey, you some sense of slave for me. I like to let everybody know we all play a role here. I just have a different responsibility than you. And I'm going to encourage that workplace to look into the innovation that I'm bringing to the table, try to grasp it. And if they do, I'm going to keep them there. If not, I have to say bye-bye. Uh-oh, I think you muted, Mayor. Uh, can you hear me? Okay, I don't hear you. Let me see. Okay. Let me go to the volume. Yeah, my volume is all the way up. Um,
No?
I Now I can. I can hear you.
Okay. Oh, I must have been. You got me so excited that I grabbed my mic the wrong way. You know what?
Uh-oh, I think you went out again. Okay.
1 second. Oh,
I can hear you.
all right. Okay. I'm on my regular computer. My mic. Hey, look. I haven't been doing these back-to-back lives like this, so my mic died.
Uh-oh.
It don't matter. I was so
You've been
engaged in
working.
your conversation, and so were the people. So were the people with the comments, right? They said they could
You've
hear you,
been
they could hear
working.
me. Great plans. Um, Jessica Beasley says we're all a team.
That's right. We're
Yeah,
all a team.
We're all a team. Uh, Former Mayor Sterling Lee says great plans. And then
Awesome.
Eliza Mahaffey, am I saying it right? Eliza. I'm sorry, Eliza, if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, but she has a good question. They're all
Uh-huh.
good questions. She wants to know, what are
Hmm.
your goals to accomplish within the first 100 days?
Awesome. That is a great question.
Hmm.
So, what I believe in, Mayor Pickett and Miss Eliza, first things first, a lot of our candidates speak about what they're going to do. But first, we got to get our office in order. We got to let them understand what my expectation is, and I want to know what their expectation is. The next thing I'm going to do is these partnerships that I'm talking about to make sure that the office can thrive. I'm building a relationship with them. Now, let me tell you some of these people I'm talking about partnering with. The Federal Trade Commission. They're going to be very important as it comes to our state. I can't stomp out the corporation stronghold if I don't build a very prudent relationship with the Federal Trade Commission. And I'll tell you why. One of the deepest things that is very important to me, even as not a Secretary of State yet, again, these corporations have drained all of the resources out of the state and have taken it away and put and negatively impacted our local nonprofits and businesses. One of the ways they have done this, Mayor Pickett, is through what I consider deceptive charity fundraising. It's very important to me because it's been happening for years here, which is what nudged me to run for this office. Now, I'm going to give you a prime example of something that happened here. There was a group called CARS, huge corporation, that said they were partnering with all the local nonprofits, including in South Carolina. Now, they raised $45 million and said that they were going to utilize this funding to help with the nonprofits that are directly trying to combat breast cancer, right? You may not know, they only spent $126,000 plus towards the actual operations of what they raised the money for. So let me say that again. Raised $45 million, spent $126,000. If that's not deceptive fundraising, I don't know what is. So when my first 100 days, I need to make sure that me and the Federal Trade Commission are on the same page to make sure that we take that type of mess out of this state. Another thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to work very closely with our legislation, and I'll tell you why. We need to get into statutory language that when corporate nonprofits or businesses are operating off of our consumers here in South Carolina, you need to have a state liaison that represents your corporation in this state so that we can hold them accountable. Right now, corporations, if they operate in this state, there's a statute with the Secretary of State. By default, he becomes the agent of this corporation if they don't have one here. And that way, when these consumers want to even file a lawsuit against these corporations, they can mail the Secretary of State. Well, I'm taking that a step forward. We need to make demands of these corporations, taking advantage of our most vulnerable people in this state, whether it's our elders, these consumers that are here, and we need to make sure they have somebody present that I can go knock on that door and hold them accountable. This type of mess has to stop. So one of the first things I'm going to do is break this corporation stronghold that has been on this state. The second thing I'm going to do is go ahead and advocate, like I already told you I'm doing, for satellite offices across this state. I'm going to go ahead in there to that state house, and many may not know, I was the executive director of the Legislative Progressive Caucus. I'm also still the agent of this Progressive Caucus in the State House as we speak right now. I have the relationships. I have those relationships. And I know the powers that they have where they can change legislations to favor our local businesses and nonprofits. So that's something very dear to me. And I'll tell you why, Mayor Pickett. When it comes to mental health in our state, when it comes to the crime rate that is raising, when it comes to these houses that should have been condemned all through these areas, it's not the Secretary of State office that's going out there solving these problems. 80% of the time, it is our nonprofits and our local charities that have been working in these communities for years to combat all of these things that I'm naming. But why don't they have a return on investment? Why is the Secretary of State is not going to these communities, showing them how they can thrive so they can continue doing this work? That will stop recidivism, because now we're actually having our nonprofit working on these folks that have a mental health issue instead of us sending law enforcement down there all the time first. But I'm gonna go on to the next one. But it's very dear to me because these people have been our backbones. And I can't hear you again.
Go to your third thing.
Okay, I can hear you now. I can hear you now.
Let me see.
I can hear you. Yes, ma'am. Uh-oh, you went out again.
Listen. Okay.
There you
All
go.
right. All right. All right. Now, this is the deal between 2004 and 2026. I'm gonna just take a second, and hopefully I can connect these dots. Right.
Yeah.
So, when somebody was elected 22 years ago,
That's
all
correct.
this stuff wouldn't happen. First problem, my mic died. Right. First problem. Second problem, my phone was too close to my computer. So my phone, I gotta throw my phone over here. My phone was trying to be my mic.
That's all right. Look, we got to learn how to move forward, and work through problems. And that's what I'm good at.
But we need energy. We need fresh ideas.
That's right.
And it's not about age. Again, it's not about age. It's about fresh ideas. Come through in 3 minutes or less with your third thing. That's our busy 100 days.
So my third thing is I will build multiple task force, and I'm going to build it I'm going to get a liaison for every county, and I'm going to pull a task force that directly I can get ideas from as we're moving forward. One huge problem, not only in the Secretary of State office, but in our state politics, period. We don't utilize the voices that are on the ground as it comes to this state. And we say that we trying to push a democracy, but honestly, the way this state has been moving looks much like a monarchy. And what I want to do is make sure the real voices of the people are actually being implemented into policy as it comes to the Secretary of State's office. That cannot happen unless I engage them in the process. If we're talking about how to make businesses thrive, make charities thrive, then why are we not inviting these folks to fill boards that we create through the Secretary of State's office? So I will create community boards, and I will create task force to make sure that we're combating any type of evil coming into our state and affecting our business, like these corporate folks that we don't talk about. And then I'll have community board to make sure that their voice stays alive in my process. And let me say this, Mayor Pickett, since I have 3 minutes, I'm going to take the last minute to say this. I can say a lot of the qualifications that I have. I know a lot of people speak on, sometimes we don't tell all of our qualifications when we're on the road. A lot of times we have 4 minutes tops to speak when we're at this forum. And what I have prioritized is to make people understand, I don't care how many doctorate degrees you have. I don't care what you think qualifies you to be able to run an office of any type. One thing's for sure, as it comes to our Democratic Party and this blue wave we're talking about, if you are not energized enough to move the masses of these missing voters that have been missing from the voter process, that has lost trust in our elections, we will not win this in November. We ain't going to have nothing but smart losers, okay? In order for us to win here, one of the qualifications need to be, can this candidate bring back the missing voters who've already been registered that has lost faith in our democracy and in our election? I am that candidate. I started a nonprofit called Vision Walkers over 10 years ago that had worked diligently through the marginalized and disenfranchised communities, showing them you can come back to the fold. Your skill sets are so transferable into the political and the business apparatus. When we show these folks acceptance, this is what's going to bring them back to the polls. My campaign is doing that, but I'm very much qualified. I sit on more than four nonprofit boards, one being Justice 360. And like I told you, I co-founded my own organization. Another thing, I'm the chair of trustees for the Bibleite church movement that have ministries all over North Carolina and South Carolina. I understand nonprofits. I'm the ethics chair for the American Federation of Labor, as we know it affectionately as the AFL-CIO. We're going through some different changes in administration right now, but I understand being a watchdog when it comes to ethics, when it comes to staying within the bounds of compliance. And I also was the operations director. But we need this type of energy that you bring, Mayor Pickett, that I bring, and that's the real qualification for November. Because if we can't win in November, it don't matter what type of qualifications you have and letters by your name if we cannot win.
We definitely have to put in the work, young world. We definitely have to put in the work. And so let me just see if there's any final questions. I love everything you had to say. Going back, looking at some questions. Lizzie says, you show great strength and even running against that part. I mean, I got to ask you a question on that.
Yes.
You are running against, she said you show great strength in running against a 24-year incumbent, and she loves your plans. What made you decide to take, because I don't think he's been opposed, right?
He hasn't, for the most part. I mean, he has a few times over the years, but not recently. Yes.
So what made you decide? I love your passion, your ideas.
Right.
Was it just like, hey, look, I got these ideas, let's bring them to the table?
No. So again, it started off me already working with and being on call for nonprofits and businesses over this state. That's why I launched my business, C&J Consulting, over 10 years ago. That was directly to help empower the backbones of our state, which is the nonprofits and the businesses. But also, I understood that there's a lot that is weaponized out of the Secretary of State's office. They purposely and systematically have made the Secretary of State appear to be a ghost and just a business filer. So although I'm very impressed with my opponent, even as it comes to this primary, what she says she's done over the years, but one thing's for sure, I've worked behind the scenes as it comes to political, being a campaign consultant, winning multiple races across the state. I understand the bureaucracy of the Secretary of State office, being as the executive director of the Legislative Progressive Caucus. But I've watched how they weaponize that office to suppress even the voters in this state. Right now, Mayor Pickett, in November, there will be up to 200,000 voters purged from the voter rolls in South Carolina. We already lose by a deficit of over 100,000 votes as it comes to the past few years that we've been running. I got tired of hearing this crap about the supermajority in the state house. I get tired of hearing this crap about we cannot win in November. I'm telling you why we haven't been winning. We haven't been winning because we have not considered qualifications of candidates who can actually drive these missing voters to the polls. So I knew the Secretary of State office speak directly to my heart because I've been doing a lot of the work, but also that office directly influences the Election Commission. The Secretary of State, they do not manage the voter rolls, but they do heavily and significantly influence the office of the Election Commission. They are the ones that influence that office. And if we don't get somebody in that office that's willing to hold all these folks accountable, we're going to continue to look like a lot of these states that the Secretary of State does have the power in. So they purposely allowed our Secretary of State to appear as a ghost. But trust me when I tell you, he's working in these back rooms. I've seen it for myself. He heavily influences these different offices that is not directly in his statutory responsibilities, but he does withhold them. And I plan on getting in that office, and I'm going to make sure that our voting precincts are moved back near these marginalized communities where they don't have to go 8 miles down the road, a left, a right, and down the hill, we can easily influence the election commission directly from the Secretary of State office. Sorry, I
Love it.
probably went over time, but
No
it's time.
worries. No
It is.
worries.
It's
Listen, listen. We're bringing it home. So Teresa Johnson, she says she loves the idea of champion entrepreneurial spirit. Craig Conwell, he says you've got to be able to electrify the masses, and he says you do that well. I agree. Um, okay, and then we're gonna end it with this last comment, and then I'm gonna let you close it for the people. Do your final. Jessica Beasley, she looked like she's running for State House District 11.
Oh, she's
Thank you
great.
so much.
Y'all need to look into
Okay.
it. She's great. I've been watching her stuff. Yes, yes.
Okay. Well, you heard that. That's a plug, Jessica, from Jason Belton. And she
And just
says,
because my opponent is a woman, I am still fired up about women winning in this state. And I plan to back my opponent if she wins as well. This is about the Democratic Party. This is about taking our democracy back. And that's what I'm here for.
that's
Sorry,
right.
Miss
Hey, listen, hey, girl power. Okay. And you know that I have advocated for women in my career
Right,
in the
right.
boardrooms and corporate America, and still to this day, because we need women's voices at the table.
We
So
do.
I thank
We
you
do.
so much. Thank you so much. We got some more. Oh, LaShonda Neesmith Jackson,
Hey,
Jason
Councilwoman,
Belton for Secretary of
you're doing
State.
a
You
great
got
job in
this. All
Florence.
right, all right. So they're cheering you on, and I need you in 1 minute. But I got somebody else coming up waiting.
I'll
In
try.
1 minute, make your final argument.
Okay. Well, I'll say this. This is not about me. Some people, I believe, as me traveling around, have become very resistant against my passion. But I'm passionate about this because I've been behind the scenes fighting for the Democratic Party, fighting for our elections for years, and I have been winning them as a campaign consultant. But I'm telling you now, we have seen what it looks like when the GOP has too much power. They are showing their butts every day. We need my campaign to win this primary so that I can bring out all of these marginalized and disenfranchised voters. For I can bring back these missing voters so we actually have a chance to win in November. And if I win this primary, Mayor Pickett in South Carolina, I can promise you GOP is gonna have a hard time beating the Democratic Party this year because I got something for them and I got a huge support base that haven't been engaged in this political process for years, and they're fired up, ready to go, and I'm willing to put them behind all these statewide candidates across this state so we can kick the GOP's butt. And I usually don't talk like that, but this is war that has been declared against the Democratic Party.
He does
and
it.
I'm fired up to win this.
Ready to go.
Pick it. Yes, ma'am.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's the way to close it. Thank you so much, Jason. I appreciate your time.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Wow, he is fired up and ready to go. Listen, which is it's right. LaShonda Neesmith Jackson says it's time. This is exactly why I wanted to bring these candidates to this platform so you guys can hear what they had to say. 24 years as an incumbent, 24 years in a position that is that important with not a lot of innovation, right? Jason is coming to the table. He's got me excited, y'all. He said fired up, ready to go. I'm fired up for him. I'm fired up for his ideas. I'm fired up for the opportunity to have change, right? A fresh look. Now, couple things. And Jason brought out a good point that I did not stress with others, is that he is in the Democratic primary. So when you go to vote tomorrow, you would have to say Democratic primary in order to see his name, and you'll get a Democratic ballot. And what I do love what Jason said, and it's first time, I think Darius said it too, they both had kudos for their Democratic primary opponent and said that they would work with them when all said and done. But I know that I need Jason. I need y'all to go out, vote for this young man, vote Jason Belton in the Democratic primary as candidate of Secretary of State. Let's bring some fresh ideas, some fresh blood to state leadership and all those things he connected for us. I didn't even know it. And I'm telling you, I talked to him a lot. I read his stuff. I've been to his website, but he brought some nuggets today for all of us. So listen, I got one more. Next up is school board, school districts, school superintendent. So come back in 15 minutes, and that's where we'll wrap up today. Thank you guys. Have a good day. See you in 15.